Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We are talking with Metro Councilman Freddie O'Connell. He represents downtown, the urban core, and we're talking about prison privatization here in Metro. Should Metro be contracting with a private company? In this case, it's CoreCivic. The council will be reviewing that come January. There's a big report out about it, and that's what we're talking about. Let's go to the phones. Let's see what Bill has to say. Hello, Bill.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
Yeah, this strikes me as the classic fake conservatism situation.
Help me understand.
When I say fake conservatives, because a lot of the fake conservatives want to privatize everything, even if it costs more. And what that really means is they want to feed contracts to their buddies under the guise of ideology, in this case, conservatism. And even if all of the incentives are aligned in the wrong way, in other words, our incentives as a citizenry is to get people turned around and back into the population of the city in a way that will allow them to function and avoid being in jail. Yeah. The private institutions need to get paid by head or the bed, and therefore their incentives are the exact opposite.
Well, and
now,
Bill,
I don't know
that's
CoreCivic per se.
Yeah.
I've never looked at their record, but I've seen plenty of articles and stories all around the country of private prison companies cutting corners, not doing the right thing, and their profit incentive is not aligned with our needs as a society, in my opinion.
So you'd like to move out?
Do the right thing.
You'd like to move out of this contract?
I absolutely like to. California has just outlawed private prisons.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know how long it's going to take them to get there. I'm sure there's going to have to be a process with the contracts and all the rest of it. But I certainly, for me personally, here locally, as a Nashville taxpayer, I want that contract over.
Okay. Well, and I think Bill understands exactly why I wanted to commission this report from the sheriff's office, because we learned some things. We learned about how twisted that idea of outsourcing lowering costs becomes, because, and you'll note, it's not even that they're operating at a rate that is higher than counties. For several years, they've enjoyed an escalator above that daily rate, which has not changed for counties in decades, right? So that $37 has been stuck in that fixed position, and and that's out there again statewide. And this one facility enjoys something different. So I think Bill understands perfectly well why I wanted to have this information be available. I think the other thing, in talking about those incentives, and we were talking about this right before we came on the air, you had, I think, Vice Mayor Schulman on to talk about these special committees he's formed. Well, he has a committee whose entire basis, and I'm pleased to sit on it because it is my home zip code now for 12 years, and I represent a good chunk of it, 37208. And if you were born in 37208 from 1980 to 1986, you were more likely to become incarcerated later in life than anywhere else in the United States. So this issue of mass incarceration absolutely hits home to me, both from the standpoint of where I live, but also the folks that I am honored to represent.
To push back a little, when he says fake conservatism, the numbers would indicate that if we suddenly just got out of this contract, it's going to cost us a lot of money.
Right. It would certainly cost us less if we enjoyed the same rate as the fake conservative rate, right? And that's there, again, only because the backstop of this being operated directly by TDOC is apparently off the table, right? They would rather operate this contract with CoreCivic than operate the facility themselves. Me personally, I'd still rather get our incentives aligned. I'd rather have good paying jobs with good benefits, particularly in a sensitive area like this that is about incarceration, from an organization that is publicly accountable rather than one that you have to go through a PIO even to learn simple things about.
All right, let's go to Taylor. Hello, Taylor.
Good evening. I find this to be an interesting conversation, and I'm wondering if Bill is anxious to pay more property tax to help pay for these new private, well, not private, but the employees that are going to be on the Metro payroll, and with higher salaries than they currently make, more benefits. But my main question is, why is this councilman and the sheriff looking for a project to spend more money on when we've got a disastrous financial situation now, with many more serious expenditures to be made in the future? I mean, gosh, we've got to build another baseball park and put 3 lanes of highway in the air to cover our interstates. This is a state project altogether, and I can't figure out why you would want to push the governor and the Department of Corrections aside and take on a project that's totally a state project. So,
all right, well, let's talk about that. Taylor, thank you.
No, I mean, I think that's the point. I'd be just as satisfied if TDOC would come in and operate this and, in fact, be at the table doing this job, right? But they've said we'd rather have this private operator out there. And I hope that I spent part of the earlier part of the show explaining exactly why I did this. This isn't me saying, yeah, let me go find something to spend more money on. This is me saying, I think the money we're spending right now is being poorly spent through a curious arrangement with the state that's actually resulting in worse outcomes, sometimes for worse outcomes for Nashvillians. And you know, I would absolutely stand up and say I'd rather have more good paying jobs with better benefits. And frankly, as a Metro Schools parent, I'd rather pay teachers more. And as a property tax paying Nashvillian, I know that some of that is an investment in Nashville's present and its future.
Okay, let's go to Steve. Hello, Steve. Are you there, Steve?
Yes,
go right ahead.
Yes, I wanted to thank Freddie O'Connell for bringing this up in the Metro Council. I really think they should have pulled the contract when we had the scabies outbreak. They did not let the Public Health Department know about these incidents where it's taking place, and we really didn't have a way to hold them accountable, which is really problematic. When you try to get records from them, they consider themselves not in the public realm, so public records requests, they basically get stymied. So the problems that we've seen with the well-documented cases of violence, understaffing, and everything, they don't deserve to have that contract. So I hope that the council has enough guts to go out there and say, we're putting this up for review, and I'm sorry, you have not demonstrated, you've actually breached your contract over time, because with the Public Health Department, they're supposed to notify them of any sort of outbreak, and they haven't done it. Well, they have not been really a good partner.
All right, thank you, Steve. What is the scape? Talk about that.
So
that was in the
this
news
was one of the things that actually happened maybe a couple of years ago. Not long after I passed my bill, we actually had some hearings in council about this, about that very outbreak, which prompted some of my colleagues at the time to say, let's jump on this. And I said, all right, hang on. We've got this bill that we just did. It's going to increase the reporting requirements, and I'm about to go work on this project with the sheriff. So now that we've been a little bit patient, we know exactly what it would take. But Steve is not wrong. There is a lack of transparency. In fact, right now at this facility, at the Metro Detention Facility, the kitchen was closed for renovations apparently, and has been closed for weeks. An issue happened, and they've been apparently delivering boxed lunches from off-site. They've, I guess, established a mobile kitchen in the meantime. But you know, I've heard complaints from inmates there about the sort of just baseline of treatment that they're getting. And Steve's exactly right. Even if you don't go to prison for the food, right? We've also got an issue where currently the women's facility is temporarily closed while the new downtown complex gets built. There are pretrial women out there, people who have not been convicted of anything yet, subject to this same level of treatment, and there is a lack of transparency. And I hope Steve will be satisfied that the bill we passed a couple years ago, as well as giving council the contract renewal oversight, also put some new reporting requirements in place above and beyond what will go into this RFP. So I think we're on the right path here.
So let's say, based on the first few calls we have, we'll take some more here. There's not a ton of love for CoreCivic, which used to be CCA. Let's say it's certainly a controversial business. Privatization of prisons is there's some, I guess, who support it. There's some definitely who do not support it. Let's say there's not a ton of support for that. It's going to cost a lot of money in the first year. You said it can't happen in the first year. Probably can't happen in the second year. How soon realistically, if people really want to move away from this, how soon realistically could we do it?
So my guess from talking to the sheriff's office as we were kind of finishing up this report, and they were about to go into the RFP process, designing the RFP to renew that contract. It will be like its predecessors, a 3-1-1 contract, right? You get a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options to renew. I can't imagine that we're going to have advanced far enough in our fiscal conversations as a city, between Mayor Cooper's office, between another assessment coming in 2021, and looking at where we fall with our property tax rate. And Mayor Cooper said on the campaign trail many times about the dozens of sources of revenue we have. He's just come out of the gates with this arrangement with the convention center. Who knows what all of that will mean for our fiscal horizon. What I know is last term we shrank Nashville's pie a little bit, and if we grow the pie going forward, we'll figure out if there is a slice that could do this. I think what we're looking at, I'm not looking for a project to spend more dollars. I'm trying to come at this from a moral standpoint that says what we're doing right now is frankly wrong in this specific domain. We could do better, and I wanted to understand the costs of what it would be to do better. So now we're going to take 2 of those callers who have understood these issues and have to reconcile that with the other who is worried about our fiscal situation, right? This document prepares us for the community conversation that will unfold over the next few years.
All right, we're going to take a break. Lucy, Phil, William, hold on the line. If you want to call in, there's the number 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.